How you doing out there, folks? Yes, it's me again. Yep, the Invisible Man versus Merrick Bank and the Robot. This is part 9. So, I've been doing this quite a while now. I'm doing it because I just don't like the idea of being harassed for a bill that's not even in my name. I'm going to give you the whole story in case you haven't seen one of my videos. They're all about harassing calls. I may, go off on different tangents and all. It's not scripted, so they're not going to be identical. So now if you are getting harassing phone calls, you don't have to put up with it. There's lawyers out there that don't charge for that can help you. So in case you think because you owe, say, Merrick Bank or any bank money and you can't pay it, well, don't feel that, say, I'm going to have to get a lawyer and it's going to cost me more than what you owe them, but that's not the case. So keep it in mind. I'm going to go over this again. Different areas, because these laws are set up and it's supposed to protect the consumer. But again, these creditors and debt collectors, they use unethical tactics, to try to collect this money. The case I'm involved in right now, this all started, let's put it this way, it started back in 2018. We received a pre-approved application from Merrick Bank. It was double the credit line. I'm not going to go into detail too much. She wanted it and all. She was happy about it. She filled it all in. Got me as authorized user and all. And I explained to her, before she signed off on it, it said that you have to get permission for them to call you using an auto dialer on your cell phone or text message you. You have to get permission. I told Maria about it. She said she didn't care about it. She wanted the card. And I told her, that if you don't okay it, they're not going to give you the credit. She said, I don't care, I want it. So she signed it or checked it or whatever it is, given permission. But I don't think that's allowed. But that's the way the laws are. You got to prove it, They can get away with anything. So in this case, she checked it that she gives permission, right? On this Merrick Bank double the credit line. Well, that's not valid, I don't think, because that should have been separate. It shouldn't been combined with that offer they were giving, but it was. They just know that people don't know that. And another thing they did, like when you get the bill every month, there's the part you send in. On the back of it, there's a change of address, phone number and everything. On the bottom of it, it's got work phone and cell phone. So if you put those numbers down, then it says right underneath it, you're giving them permission to call you with the auto dialer. That means at work and the cell phone. So other accounts don't do that. They don't put that thing on there. Plus, if Merrick Bank or any bank, if they're not making the calls, from their company, they're hiring somebody to do it, that company's supposed to get permission from you because they're the ones calling. But again, that's why you need a lawyer to go into the details of that. So this is the way it was set up with us. Okay, Marie wanted it. It was a credit card that we had together. It was the last one. I've been paying our bills for over 8 years, on time. Before that, we were having a lot of problems with the accounts, because those things happen all the time, Now, I was pretty much keeping up with it, and Marie passes away. Now I had all these bills to pay. So I got the lawyer and all. I tried myself, at first with some of the accounts, like I usually do. I sent cease and desist letters and all. And they stopped, But see, those cease and desist letters, it's really for the debt collector. They have to honor it. They got to stop bothering you because they're a third party. The creditor that's calling, like what's been calling me now, they don't have to abide by it because they're the creditor. You owe them the money. They call it the cease and desist letter. There's also another term, drop dead letter. That's another term for that. But I did that, and I sent a, certified mail return receipt and all, because a couple of the accounts were saying that it was an attempt to collect the debt, even though it was the creditor. But I said, okay, maybe they'll honor it. They did, and all of a sudden the call started again. So that's when I said I need help, and then I start looking up some of the banks online, to see what they've had any problems and all. And then this consumer advocate attorney popped up. You know how they had the pop-up? I put my name in, and he called me. I told him about all the accounts. He said, oh, I can help you with them. Send me the information. Of course, the phone log. Good thing I had all that. He said it's a good thing because that's important. Because I got to be able to see when the calls were made, what days and times, all this stuff that is needed, when you're going after these companies. So I took care of all that with him. He stopped all the calls. But I was still paying Merrick Bank because at the time I figured I had enough going on. I wanted to, just keep paying them as much as I could because I had a card. And the account's still valid because I was paying it every month. So I paid it for a few months, and then all of a sudden, I just couldn't pay. I had to stop. I didn't want to do it, because Marie really liked that account, and she, wanted me to pay it. But now I can't. So I contact the lawyer, and it's one of the banks that he deals with. This particular lawyer, he deals with certain banks. More than others where he knows how to deal with them. So I contacted him. I sent him the phone logs. This was in November 2019. So they were calling on the cell phone and the landline. So since I told them all of this, and plus the phone numbers are in my name. And they don't realize that Merrick Bank, when they were calling, they're calling from Marie, of course. They don't know she's deceased. But they still made those calls, regardless, and I'm an authorized user on that account. So I contacted him. First, the cell phone call stopped, and a couple of days later, the landline stopped. So I said, okay, good. He's working on it. He's filed a lawsuit and all. I went about my business, and I said, look, at least I don't worry about that right now. I was getting statements, and the statements were showing not too much. It was just a late fee, $39, I think it was. So we had a $1,200 credit altogether, and it was still, it wasn't quite used up, but now with the adding on the late fees, now it's almost up to $1,400. I think that's why they start calling you like that. Because if you don't pay, they're racking it up, the money on it. So if they have to write it off, they're writing it off for more money. So that's going to come off of their income, so they're not worried about that. But to harass you like that really, I don't know. They want to do it so bad because the law says, it's the Federal Debt Collection Practices Act. It says debt collectors in there, but it applies to creditors too, but not all parts of it. So it says they can call you between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. They got 13 hours to call you. So there's no reason to be calling you all them hours. Because when they were calling me in November of 2019, I got 19 calls on the cell phone and 43 on the landline. That's over 60 calls, and not even a couple of weeks. Now, don't you think it's too much? To put up with that? That's why you have to have a lawyer, So, back to this again. So, I wouldn't believe it. Now, that was in November of 2019. So, a month and a half later, around January 2nd, I see a call from Merrick Bank. I said, uh-oh. I was surprised, I didn't expect it. And they started, but not on the cell phone, just the landline. So I start keeping track. I have my phone log, and I noticed it was calling like about 4 times a day. But they didn't call on Sunday. See, I know they have different patterns, because when they were calling me in November, they did call on Sunday. But not this time. So this, let this go for a couple of weeks, because I wanted to see a pattern, a little more than a couple of weeks. And then I noticed they're using about 6 different numbers. So when it comes up on the caller ID, on the landline, it says Merrick Bank and one of those numbers. But whatever number comes up, that's the number they use for all the calls for that day. So if they make 4 calls, it's all on that same number. Then the next day, 4 more calls on another number. And all those numbers go to the call center. So they're abiding by the law there. They're supposed to display the name of their company and their number. And they're doing it, But as far as making all those calls, though, see, there's no amount of calls. It's just that if you're being annoyed, those calls are not supposed to do that. Okay, so there's 6 phone numbers they're using. So they would call me on Saturday 4 times. This was in January 2020. And then Sunday, they didn't call at all. Monday, they don't call. So maybe Monday afternoon and evening. So what do you think of that? Is that supposed to be not harassing you because they did that? No, they're doing it to give you a false sense of security, so to make it more of an impact, That's part of the harassment. You think that's by chance? That's programmed, The robot. It can't do it by itself, but once a human being has to set that up. So they have these different programs they have. That they know that they must be getting results, or they wouldn't be doing it. They want to do it so bad. Because it does say in the law that if they get permission from you, they're allowed to call you with the auto dollar. But that's how bad they want to call you. They don't leave a message. And if you pick it up, nobody's there. So you want to tell them, something about it, or nobody's there. That means all the calls I received, let's see, in November 2019, I received over 60 calls. And in January 2020, I received over 80 calls, and that's only within 1 month. And that was only on 1 number. And they didn't even call on Sunday. Don't you think that's an awful lot of calls? Can you imagine if how that would rack up in a year? That'd be over 1,000 calls. I mean, if they have to pay by the call, money to you, they ought to be glad I stopped it. So, okay, these calls were in January, I was really... I couldn't figure out why, So I contacted the lawyer. He said he's going to reach out to them. And I noticed, because there's litigation. I know that. So I waited, and then the call still kept coming. I contacted the attorney again. And he said he's going to make them stop. And he did. Now the call stopped. What I think it was, since I'm the one that filed the litigation, it's in my name, not Marie. I'm on the account, and they're calling the numbers. They were making all those calls, which I got, because Marie couldn't have gotten them because she was deceased. So the litigation I have in is from me to them. So maybe it took them a month and a half to figure it out, and they decided, well, it's a retaliation to me because I have a lawsuit against them. Is that why they start calling me again in January? Well, I don't know about it. The lawyer, it's up to him. He may work a deal with them, a settlement, because those 80 calls in January are definitely harassment. Because if they're calling me after they were told to stop by the lawyer because of the litigation, so he might be able to that could be another case, because they're harassing phone calls then. And I was ticked off when it first started in January. That really ticked me off. In November of 2019, he stopped everything and was working on the case, and that was it. But when they called me, started in January, that really got me mad. So, they're going to keep harassing me like that? Well, I'm going to keep bad-mouthing them on social media, and that's what all this is about, what I've been doing. Even though the call stopped again, I'm still doing it. Why? Because I didn't like it. So that's another thing. I'm doing this. Now, if my attorney says, Frank, you better stop it for now, and I will, if he tells me. If not, I'll stop it when I feel good and ready to stop it. When I feel that I've done as many videos as they gave me all those calls, You figure if I put one video a day, well, it's going to take me a long time to get the over 80 calls that they made to me in January. But it all depends. If there's a settlement, and I get money, and a lawyer going to get paid no matter what, well, and they wipe out the debt, well, it doesn't matter about that debt anyway. Since Marie passed away, and it's not in my name, it's in hers, so it's going to be wiped out anyway. Because that debt is going to have to be written off. Because, when a card holder passes away, the creditor can't collect that unless it's a husband, or try to go after a family member, or an estate. But none of that exists here. We've been together over 40 years, and we don't have a marriage license. We're not legally married. We live together as man and wife, but we didn't have to have that marriage license. So now, and I'm not a joint card holder, and I'm not a co-signer on this account. I don't know what they're trying to do. That's their fault for making these calls and not having a live person call you. What they should have done when these accounts are late, they should have maybe waited a couple months and then have one of these call takers that they have, instead of receiving calls, have some of them make calls, try to find out why you're late, and maybe it could be resolved that way. And if they could, that would stop the calls. Then if not, then they could start the calls, because that's what they want to do. That they have it, like I say, I've been calling them a one-trick pony, because that's all they're doing. There's nobody there. That means none of those customer care representatives that they have aren't making any calls then. How can they? When all those robocalls, they're leaving no message, and they're on an auto dollar and all, and you can't leave a message either. So there's not one live representative has made any of those calls that I received. It means all those calls in November and January 2020. Nobody. So there's got to be a reason for it. They want you to call them. I guess that's the reason. They want to keep bothering you enough that way you figure I better pay them and don't pay something else, or take, who knows. They think you have money and they want to get it out of you, if they can. And those harassing phone calls, I don't know. I know a lot of people wouldn't be able to take it. I know that. After a while, everybody has a limit, a different limit, like a little longer. Like me, I know what it was. So in my case, I could have withstood it longer. But I'm not supposed to. I don't have to. Because when I see a pattern like that every day, 4 calls a day, and most of the calls are in the afternoon. Why, they think I want to be more home at that time of day? Is that why they call then, to bother you more? That's what they do. They try to keep after you, They give you, they light up a little bit, then all of a sudden, hit you with the calls close together. That's not harassment. Those calls are not supposed to annoy you. And I can prove I'm annoyed. You can just look at all the videos on social media. This is the 9th one with this invisible man gimmick that I'm using. I'm doing it to get attention, Because they're hiding behind that robot or that calling, and all that. Well, I can hide behind this disguise if I want to. So that's what I've been doing, That's what I came up with. Like this knitted hat that I'm wearing now. Marie made it for me, I guess about 20 years ago. I used to go out and shovel the snow and all. And she said, "Don't your face get cold?" I said, "Yeah, a little bit." She says, "Why don't I make you this? You can pull it down over your face. I'll cover your face and I'll cut out for the eyes and all." I said, "Oh, okay." But I said, I don't want to wear it going down the street. People think I'm going to rob a bank. So I waited till I got to the store and I shoveled the snow. And it was nice. It was warm. And I noticed, because I had a surveillance camera outside the store when I was shoveling. It's on all the time. I was looking at it. And it looked like the Invisible Man. I was surprised because it was an infrared camera. And the way the light hit it and all, it looked like it. So that's what gave me the idea to do this. I figured I can wear that. It's an easy disguise to do, Well, that's what I've been doing, Trying to make my point, Well, I got other videos in there. You can look up on YouTube. You can just look up harassing phone calls. My videos are going to come up. A lot of them. You could look up my name if you put in Frank Leeper, on YouTube, in the search box. All my videos are coming up. See, I stopped on my videos that I was doing for a while. On varied subjects. I stopped it because of this. Because this was starting to get me preoccupied with this. I can't keep taking those harassing phone calls. Because I know I can't pay. And this is one of the times that Merrick Bank because I have to pay the attorney and maybe pay me too. I don't care about the money that much, I care about the harassment, that I don't want to take. And I don't have to, and you don't have to take it either. But I'm pretty sure that somebody out there, with all the people that view these videos on Twitter and YouTube, they have to be getting some calls. It can be from a debt collector or a creditor. But actually that debt there, like I said, that's a zombie debt. Because any debt that's written off or uncollectible or whatever it is, and say it's on, it might be in a bundle. And these scavenger debt collectors pay pennies on the dollar and they try to collect it. You might not know after a few years that debt comes up and they start trying to collect it. No, it's past the statute of limitations, which is, different in every state, So they're trying to collect it. The debt collectors are very clever, They can trick you a lot. I know for a while there, I was getting, bills from debt collectors that was, I know it was past the statute of limitations. And they had a lot of different things. Like say you owed $500, right? They'll give you a credit card and put the $500 on it, and they'll give you a $100 credit. And you pay it every month like a regular credit card. So, of course, they probably didn't pay much for that debt, but you didn't owe them the money. So now once that happens, and say you would say, it's not a bad deal. I owe the $500, I'll just keep paying, and they gave me a $100 credit, so altogether it would be $600. You could pay every month, and then if you just like a regular credit card, if you get it under the limit, you can still use it. So you tell me that that's a smart thing to do? Yeah, it is for the debt collector. Now what you did was, you took a debt that was probably past the statute of limitations, uncollectible. Now you started the clock running. As soon as you do something like that, okay, you have the credit card again. You owe them the money. Now they can start calling and doing everything they want for that money. You better be careful. Don't make any deals with these debt collectors, because they're very, very crafty. They got all kind of tricks. They try all kind of stuff. I mean, that sounds like a good deal. You figure if I owe $500, and this is going to clear it off, I can start again, just working on that one, paying them every month a little bit, and then still have some credit to use. They want you to keep owing them. Once you owe them, that's it. You're going to be, well, you can still stop them from calling again, like I said, but you don't want to take a debt that's past the statute of limitations and start it up again. Now, I know in Pennsylvania, it's 4 years. That means all them debts I had, that the lawyer, stopped them from calling and all and put litigation. Well, from the last payment I made on them, that's when it counts, not when I opened it. So after 4 years, they'll be legally forgiven. So I got to be careful that that doesn't come back 3 years from now and some debt collector tries to collect it from me. Don't make any deals if you. I wouldn't. If you come in as some money, you say, look, I have a moral obligation. I do want to clear them debts up. Well, try to go back to the original creditor, and that'd be the best thing for you to do. So I'm just giving all this advice because I know that should help somebody out there. Because a lot of people don't realize it. When you're having problems, and those calls can be more annoying. So you have a stressful job and all. You're having family problems, a whole bunch of stuff going on. Financial problem. You don't want to keep hearing that phone ring. It can really get on your nerves. And that's what they try to do. That's what they say. It's harassing phone calls. Well, all this information I'm putting out here, I keep doing it. It is about Merrick Bank, but any bank that does it. The Merrick Bank is noted for all this unethical tactics. They've been in business over 20 years. That doesn't mean nothing. That's how come they're still in business. For using those tactics that they use. Like all these debts that they don't collect, bad debts as you might call it, well, they write them off. And what do? Send all these offers out, like Marie got, to double the credit line and all? And they get new customers. And all these add-on fees they have, and the late fee, all this, membership fee, cash advance fees, you're paying a lot of money. Like whatever credit you get, that you're not really using that credit. Because if they're putting all those fees on it, that's credit that you didn't use. But yet you still owe them the money. So, I'm just bringing up all these things. It's like pointers, The main thing, if you're getting these calls, I emphasize it all the time. You got to keep a phone log. Because if you go call the lawyer and you tell him about the calls, he's going to say, well, how many times they're calling you? Do you have a record of it? If you don't have it, I mean, you could still tell him, well, they're calling for the last 2 weeks and they're calling on this number. You can tell him all that, and he can actually, probably get it from the phone company. But you still need to know the numbers they were using. So the easiest thing is to keep a call log. It can be a little bit of a pain. They're calling 4 or 5 times a day. Okay, so in the case with us, well, the cell phone and the landline, we're calling on both. So I have a book for each one, a log for each one. If you have more than one bank, I have more than one bank, but I put it in the the landline log, and then in the cell phone log, I put the same thing. So I had all these banks, but I wrote what bank it was. If I was getting a call from 3 calls from Merrick Bank and maybe 2 from another bank, I had the bank's names, in a comment or whatever. It's a lot harder when it comes time to take those calls, and put it together for the lawyer. So you need the date, the day, the time, the number they used, and the comment and all that. You need that. It's very important because it shows a lot, But now you can learn a lot from the phone log. So it's something that you should do. Like I noticed with Merrick Bank, like I said, in January 2020, they used 6 different numbers. So that means when I was getting like 4 calls a day, I had 4 lines, right, in the log. I didn't need 4 lines. So I changed it. I put on one line the day, the date, the day, the date, and the phone number they use. So they use the same phone number. So on the next line, I put the times they called. So if there's 4 times, I just put it right across the line. 1:15 p.m., 2:32 p.m., 5:30 p.m., or 8:45 p.m. So I had 4. You could probably fit more than that on one line. That way you only have 2 lines to deal with instead of 4 or 5. So that only, but if they're using a different number, in the same day, every time they call you, then you won't be able to do it that way. There's another thing you can do with the phone log. If you think it's going to be, you don't want to let it go, because it would be harder to do. If you have all these calls on your your caller ID or your cell phone, it's going to be hard to write them down, because you're going to have, if you have 2 days worth, it's going to be a little bit harder, to get them in order, the right order. It's another thing you can do. I've done it. You go on the computer, you go in email. I don't know, I did it that way. There's other ways you could do it. And I set up the email. I put in where the subject is. I put in harassing phone calls from Merrick Bank, and I just left that. I didn't put in the email to who I'm going to send it to, because I don't know that. So then I went down and I set it up. I did one line. I put the, I put the heading, day, date, number used, and the time called. But I did it, like I just said, took 2 lines. Then on the second line, I put all the calls that they made, and then started it. So now you're saying, well, how are you going to keep adding to it? It's very easy. Once you have that email, started as the phone log, whatever you hit there, it goes into draft. Because sometimes my computer will go off, like, it goes off, it freezes up or whatever, or I have to reboot it. It's still there. It just goes in the draft. So you go into the draft, and you hit draft, and you bring it back up again, and you continue on. So if you do it that way, you can have, you could do 2. You could have 2 different emails. You could have one for the landline and one for the cell phone, and for the same bank. So you could do that, and then if you get a hold of the lawyer, then you'll already have that done. If he asks you to send it to him, you already have it. You could have the other information. You can still add it. The name of the bank and all that. Because you can go above where you made the phone log, and you can just put it in and then hit the space, and move it all down. You still can add stuff in to it. So I'm saying, I'm just giving you pointers that we're having problems, start to work on it. You don't have to, you can wait a couple weeks if you can stand the calls just to get the phone log started. So the lawyer I've been using, he's very good. I'm glad I have him. I appreciate everything he's done, and he's still working on it now with this Merrick Bank. He's got this litigation in, but it takes time. I don't know if they want to go to a jury trial or not, but more than likely they'll settle out of court. Now, with all this going on, that I've been doing, I don't think they care about me doing this. I really don't. But I'm trying to get the people that, say Merrick Bank or any bank, but to start getting these lawyers and starting to go after them, so they're getting a lot more litigation. And if they do get enough litigation, maybe they'll think twice about making all these calls, because I think that it's the cost of doing business. But if they're going to cost them more than what money is owed to them, I don't think they're going to want to be paying off all these cases and all. So that's why I said, if anybody, to get one of these attorneys, I'm going to give you the attorney I've been using now. He's a consumer advocate attorney. That means he's definitely, for us, you couldn't get a better caring attorney whether you paid or not. There's no charge for his service, free consultation, and also there's no obligation if you don't want to do it. Be glad if he takes your case, because you have nothing to lose. And he can stop the calls, that's for sure. But if he stops the calls, that don't mean that you don't owe it. You still owe the money. But you don't have to be harassed for it. It's bad enough you owe it. Maybe you can work it out later on, but, this time you can't. So you want to stop the calls. So back to the attorney again. I've had him for all last year on all them cases. It was like the end of last year that I started with the Merrick Bank with him. So that's in pending now. So let me give you his name and everything now. His name is Paul Mankin, Mankin. It's a toll-free number, 800-219-3577. I'll repeat it, 800-219-3577. Now, he might even answer, it depends. And I'll have to mention one more thing here. He's in San Diego, California. Now, it doesn't really matter. I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so it doesn't matter. He's already made all the dealings with me and all the cases. It doesn't matter because the laws are the same all over, these laws. And plus, those creditors are all over, too. Credit cards I have, they're not here from Philadelphia. They're from Utah, whatever they are, that Merrick Bank. So I'm just letting you know all about that. So I'll be putting in the description, I'll be putting information, some other things that I might not have mentioned here, But that's the thing. That's the way it is. You never know. Me and Marie were together over 40 years. We had credit cards from the very beginning. Had kind of problems all along, I might have lost my job. Now I can't pay. So we ended up going bankrupt. So that wipes out the cards too. That wipes out the debt when you go bankrupt. Nobody can collect you, no debt collector. So if that ever happened and because I was getting contacted 10 years later for debts from a debt collector. And I know I went bankrupt. So they weren't supposed to be doing that. So if you tell them that, they stop. So they're the things you should know. Because that's the only time I actually paid for a lawyer. I did pay, but it was for bankruptcy, though. It was for all the accounts. And I was having trouble with the landlord also at the time. So it was for all of that, Plus, we both went bankrupt. First I went and then Marie. So, like on an automatic stay with that. So they, so I'm just mentioning all that because it has something to do with the credit cards. But now having an attorney like this that doesn't charge you, and he's fighting for our rights, there's nothing better than that, You couldn't get a better attorney nowhere. He does other things too, anything for the consumer that he could work on, but I think it might be more in his area where he is for some of that. We couldn't be able to work on it maybe from state to state, I don't know. But you can find all that out. All you got to do is call. So, all these things in mind, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get the message out there, There's another thing. I got so upset with this Merrick Bank. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I contacted the Attorney General, in Pennsylvania here. And I told them all about it. I put a complaint in. And now they're going to contact Merrick Bank. And Merrick Bank will have 21 days to respond. But they can't make them do it. But I think when they get that notification, I don't think they're going to like it. It's just another thing you can do. See, I already have the lawyer. So, I had to make sure the Attorney General knows that. That I do. I sent them an email and told them everything. That I do already have. I'm already represented. Because they can do other things that they can do. You can still... This is important because the Attorney General in your state, they work on these things, because those calls, you're the consumer, and that's a Consumer Protection Bureau, in a sense. That's where it went to. And they contacted me and all, explained everything, and they did contact Merrick Bank. So that's another thing, and that might push them a little bit too, to do it, to do the settlement, because they know that I'm putting the pressure on them, as much as I can. As far as these videos, I'm going to keep making these videos, no matter what. And I don't mind, Like I put all my, the videos I was doing on hold because I have a lot of different things I was working on. You've probably seen them in there, But this is something that I think it's got to be. It's got to stop them. This is too much with these calls. They've been doing it. This has been going on a while. This is not nothing new. It's just that right now it's evolved into the way they're doing it now. No calling like that, but not leaving a message, and not letting you talk to them either. So that's something a little different right now. Because if they leave a message, I don't think they can keep calling you like that. Because you're going to say, well, they left a message. Why would they call again? Because if they make contact with you, like if I picked it up and I talked to one of them, then they're not supposed to call you for 7 days after that. That's something with the law. So that's another thing. So that's one of the reasons I think that they're with these calls. There's a lot of reason for those calls. I know deep down, they know that people don't like it to be harassed like that. and they're going to keep doing it. Nothing for them to do. Somebody programs it. Then the auto dollar takes over every day. There's a list, I guess. Because when the lawyer contacted them with the litigation, the call stopped. All they do is take your number out off the list. That's all they do. It's not hard to do. See, I called myself at the end of January because of all those calls and all the numbers they're putting there and all. So I called the call center. You know, all the numbers are valid. So I picked any one, and the recording comes on, another robot. And know what it says? Your call is being recorded for quality assurance. The next representative will be with you shortly. But so if I don't want to be recorded, then I guess I better hang up, right? Well, I want to be recorded because I have a lot to say, you know. Okay, so I waited, and the representative comes on the phone. I recorded it. So I told this lady, I said, look, this call is being recorded for quality assurance. She said, I don't agree. I said, well, okay. And all of a sudden, she changed her mind. She started asking me, okay, what's the last 4 digits of the Social Security of the card holder and all this stuff? And I said, okay, I gave it to her. She looked it up, and I said, look, I'm an authorized user, because she said, who are you? And I said, the card holder has passed away, and I'm the authorized user. She said, well, she passed away. She said, she put me on hold. And like some funny music comes on. You know, it was loud, too. I think maybe they turned down the volume on her because they know I'm recording it. I don't know. I think of all those things like that. So she comes back right away. She says, sir, we're going to need a death certificate. I'll give you the email address, or you can mail it to us. I said, no, I'm not. I have the death certificate. I'm not giving it to you. I got to check with my lawyer because there's a case pending, you know. I said, you know, you don't give any condolences. You don't say you're sorry for my loss, but you're sorry for Merrick Bank's loss, huh? Oh, no. They don't care about the money. I don't think she was supposed to say that. People don't know what to say when you put them on the spot. So she says that. And I said, well, if they don't care about the loss, why do they keep on calling me and everybody for them bills? And she says, anything else? And I said, no. And she hung up. These people don't even know how to talk to you, you know. The reason for it is because they're only taking incoming calls. They're not making outgoing calls. So it takes some of these people, I guess, they call them customer care. Teach them how to care for the customer. And make some calls, you know. Because this system they have set up, it's like it's only one trick pony, like I said. It's just call for everybody. Does it matter if you owe the 1,000 or 5,000? It may be. They may call more if you owe more. I don't know. They may keep it, you know, to a certain level. You know, they probably have different levels that they set all that stuff to. You know, whoever's doing that, dialing those numbers, it's definitely not dialed by a person. So they keep making those calls, huh? I don't know. They think that it's such a good system. It is. Yeah, but it's not to me. I wouldn't be doing all this if it's so good. So I keep going over this and going over it. Because I see in this particular issue that I have, again, they're trying to collect the money on that debt. And it is in Marie's name. We have different names. And they're trying to collect the debt from me that's in somebody else's name. And that's part of the litigation. All the calls they were making with the auto dollar and all the harassing phone calls, and then trying to collect a bill that's not in my name. There's a whole bunch of stuff here, so I don't know how this is going to play out. But I'll keep doing these videos, and if it plays out and I'm satisfied with it, well, then I may stop this, you know. Because whatever I posted, you know, whatever on YouTube, you know that stays on there. Like this video now that I'm making, all of them are going to be on there. If you notice, if you look at videos, I see videos on there 10 years ago, 11. Oh, they're still on there. You know, these videos I make may still be on there when I'm passed away. I don't know. I mean, I could delete it. I don't know if I will. Depends on this Merrick Bank, because they really got me ticked off with this. I'm sick of it, them calls. Because it's monotonous, See the name pop up there with the number, and you keep calling every day. And they'll keep doing it because it's all set up and they're open every day. So it's not like they don't even need to be there. That's an auto dollar. So if anybody out there, you need any legal help, remember I told you there's a lot of lawyers that do it. But the one I have, boy, I don't know what I would have done without him. I don't think I'd be doing this now. I'd be in a different situation. So he's helped me a lot. He's continued to help me. And my appreciation is I endorse him, and I do all these testimonials in all my videos because I appreciate him that much, I'm just so glad I met him, and I found him on the internet. It was, I guess, lucky. Because, you can look up these banks, and there's a lot of lawyers that do this. Now, some, I think, charge. But he doesn't charge. He does all the work, So if he has a case and then we don't win the case, well, he doesn't get paid. You don't have to pay, but he don't get paid then. But if the case is won, he gets paid whatever his fee is for his time and the court costs. And I might get some money. I mean, he got me on a couple cases. I did get some money. Not a lot. I did get some money from all those calls. This time I don't know. But this I'm more ticked off. The money don't seem to be the issue here. Because you can't put a dollar sign on somebody's. You lose a loved one like that. I would have rather her be with me now. And, using the credit. And, living our lives out. And not being harassed with these phone calls. And they need to, like I said, they need to find a different way. Other banks don't do what they do. All the banks don't do this with these calls. Merrick Bank is one of them. There's other ones that do it too. I had a couple accounts. We each had it with one bank. And they called one time. They put their name on the caller ID, the number, and left a message. They said, "Can you call us? I want to discuss your accounts." Because I had sent them letters and let them know what happened. So I eventually called back the lady. And I told her. And she said, "Well, sorry about your loss. And we want to work with you. And Marie's account, she's deceased, so, we can't collect that. So don't worry about that. Your account, we can take off all the late fees and, the finance charges and all. But we know that, you're having problems now, so we'll suspend the account for like 3 months. If you contact us in with three months, we'll, you could start it up again. We'll make all the adjustments with the credit report and all. If not, it's going to go to collection." So that was a good way to handle it. I know they probably don't have any lawsuits. I doubt it. Handling it like that, and I bet they're not making all those calls. Because it's just certain banks and debt collectors do it. They have that dialing, I know they have a lot of accounts, and they need to keep track of it, So that's a way. But darn well, when they're asking permission to call you, there's got to be a reason for it. See, the Consumer Protection Bureau, they left the door open for them, by doing that, by saying, you're not allowed to use the auto dollar, to make calls on the cell phone or, text messages. But if you got permission, see, they left it open, so right away, they're asking for permission to do it. Doesn't make it right, as long as they don't get caught. The worst can happen, you get a good lawyer, and he goes after them, and they have to pay, that's all. They can pay for each call. It might cost them a lot of money. But that's to be seen, They got lawyers for that too, so that's why you have to have a lawyer. Because he has access to the legal system. I mean, I can know about the laws and all, but it don't do me too much good if I don't know how to go about it, How to word everything and what laws apply and all that. Very important, so. And I think I pretty much covered everything that I wanted to. Again, It's the harassing phone calls. That's what I've been saying all along. I don't like it. You don't have to put up with it. Nobody has to put up with it. But they think it's the best thing going, huh? Well, I don't. So I want to appreciate everybody that's viewing my videos. And I'll put, in the description, I put other things down. I might explain things different there. I'm going to put the lawyer's information, everything, the address and all, and my email address. So if anybody wants to contact me, you can. You want to let me know that you had, that you did use the lawyer, and I know you're going to be happy with him. Be happy if he'll take your account, your case. I mean, I'm sure he's going to take as many cases as he can, but he's giving you a free consultation. So if he can tell you what to do. He still might tell the bank to stop calling you. Regardless, even if he doesn't take the case. I don't know if he will, because when a lawyer tells him, that's usually it. That's why I was surprised when they start calling me again. That's what got me really upset. That's the reason why you're seeing all these videos and all. So I want to sign off for now, and I hope everybody enjoyed this presentation. And remember, it's not scripted at all. I'm just, I'm doing it as I go along. I guess you could say it's ad lib. Okay, have a great day.